Kids, today we're going to talk about gun fun in the USA. That's correct. We're having a national debate about guns, ongoing. We've had this debate going on for a couple of hundred years now. Every once in a while it flares up, and the reason it flares up is because there's lots of activity. And in recent years, there has been lots of activity over the past decade or so after the assault gun ban was eliminated and we went back to having assault weapons on the streets. Murderous rampages have been going on. And every day I wake up and every day I get to read about at least one gun fun shooting. Today was no exception. Today, actually, the NRA went to Capitol Hill to talk about the issue, and there was another school shooting. And this school had an armed security guard, and there was still a school shooting. Yeah. So I guess that didn't work out so well. I guess that idea isn't foolproof. One armed security guard for an entire school won't work. It might keep things down a little bit, or it could actually make things worse, but it's not foolproof. And you certainly can't have 50 or 60 armed guards at every school in America. That just wouldn't be economically feasible. We can't even afford what we have now, let alone adding a new militia to schools. And then how can you make sure those people are safe? The ones that supposedly are the good guys, because sometimes good guys snap too. We've seen that with police and military and every other kind of thing. Politicians, example. Yeah. So we have this argument. And based on this argument, what I'm hearing from the conversation, there's one wing of the argument that says, absolutely don't touch our guns, let everything alone, let it be like it is, let Obama do what he's been doing in expanding our gun rights. And every time there's going to be a shooting, we're going to panic and we're going to run down and buy even more guns and even more ammo and more everything. And that's one part of this equation. And that's like the NRA part. And that's like the people that have this knee-jerk reaction to every shooting. They run down and they buy 5 more guns and 5,000 more rounds of ammunition, certain that the public and the government boogeymen are going to come in and sweep in and take away their guns. Now, it hasn't happened yet, but yet gun manufacturers and people like that make a fortune with this paranoia. And the NRA makes a fortune with this paranoia. Now there's another group of people on the other side that want to have sensible gun laws. For example, they think that they shouldn't have automatic assault weapons with large magazines like the military. They shouldn't have armor-piercing bullets on the streets, because that wouldn't leave our police or our military safe. That we shouldn't be able to carry shoulder-fired rocket missiles and stuff like that. And that everyone should have mental health background checks. Now, full disclosure. My family, for many generations behind me, were the great white hunters. They had lots of guns. As a matter of fact, somewhere, I actually possess a classic, historic gun from Pancho Villa, one of his pistols. It is part of my family collection. And so I myself, I'm a gun owner. And I have a historic gun worth a lot of money. But I digress. And it's safely put away somewhere where it cannot be used to harm anyone, including myself. Now, and it can't be got at, and I can't be taken hostage, so don't try. Meanwhile, I understand guns. At the tender age of 8, I was taught to shoot by my grandfather and my father. We went out on shooting expedition. We were hunting pheasants. And I remember them teaching me gun safety, and also me being excited about really wanting to impress them with being able to shoot a gun. And so my grandfather, who was a grand champion hunting dog trainer, sent his 2 hunting dogs out, his perfectly trained one and his new trainee dog, out into the bush to scout out some pheasants. And one pheasant jumped up, and instead of flying away or to the side, it flew towards us. All 3 of us lined up in kind of like a C formation. And I said, I got it, I got it, I got it. As I turned with my gun went right, I was just about to pull the trigger, and there was my grandfather's head right in front of my 22 shotgun. And I had the pheasant perfectly in line. And I just about pulled the trigger and blew my grandfather's head off and the pheasant. Fortunately, I got the gun past my grandfather, but only by a few inches, and shot and blew the pheasant's head off. Now, as my grandfather and my father were screaming at me and telling me how dangerous that was and how you can't do that and how that could be a very fatal accident, etc., 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 the trauma of realizing I just about killed my grandfather was all the more traumatizing when the two dogs came back, one with this headless pheasant and the other one with the pheasant's head in its mouth. And I lost it. Between the stress of them screaming and the gruesomeness of that scene, I refused to ever touch a gun again. That's my own personal choice. Now, I realize that some people like to have guns, and that some people want to take away guns, let's say, from the mentally ill. Or they blame the mentally ill, or they blame video games, or they blame whatever on gun violence. But it's only the guns that are the violence. Mental illness does not kill. If you handed a gun, it might, but it's the gun that kills. Now, let me give you an example, just so you know. Full disclosure, I'm nuts. Absolutely nuts. Should not own a gun. Don't own a gun, don't want to. Besides the one that's already taken apart for a historical museum piece, I don't own a gun. It can never be loaded again. So, just not my thing. Now, and it's not even the same state that I'm in. So, I mean, just that's how safe I am. Anyway, my point is this. There's nowhere in the Constitution, in the Second Amendment, that says there's any restriction on anyone, including anything to do with mental health, on any kind of, at all, constitutional amendment. That says, well, the Second Amendment is for everybody but people with mental health issues. Then you're going to have to decide what kind of mental health issues. Then you're going to have to realize that some mental health issues come and go, and some just come on immediately under stress when most people don't have a, quote, normal mental health condition. So you can never really screen for that. It's a fantasy. It's an absolute fantasy. And not everyone that shoots somebody is mentally ill at all. As a matter of fact, most people that get shot are not shot by the mentally ill. So what are they trying to screen for, and what would it do? What difference would it make? Very little, honestly. And you'd have to keep screening them and keep screening them because things in life change. Let's say that you went down and you went to buy a gun and you got screened for your mental health. And at the time you were really happy and you're just newly married and you just had a baby and you have a wonderful job and everything's going nifty and you want a new hunting rifle to go out with your new ATV that you just bought on time. And then 2 years later, your marriage has fallen apart, you've lost your house, you've lost your ATV, and you've lost your job. And now you're alone and you're really stressed and you're just days away from homelessness. And you have nowhere to turn. Are you in the same mental condition you were 2 years ago when you bought that gun? No, obviously not. Does it mean you're going to do something? Maybe yes, maybe no. But who knows? You never do know. Psychosis can come on immediately. And you don't even realize that you're in psychosis until it's already taken control of you. And sometimes you don't realize you had psychosis until after the fact. And all you have to do is take one medication to change your brain chemical, and you can become psychotic. And it doesn't even have to be a psychotic medication or a psychological medication. It could be an anti-inflammatory. It can change the whole way your brain thinks and put you in a psychotic fit. That's the truth. Some of these prescription drugs are very strong and they have side effects that people don't realize. And they don't necessarily have to be something that a psychologist or a psychiatrist would give you. Sometimes some of these cancer drugs will give you psychotic fits or anti-inflammatories, etc. So it gets a little bit complicated when we have this conversation. It's not just the guns, and it's not just the crazies, and it's not just the video games. It's the culture. It's our whole culture. It's not just the movies. This has been going on for a long time. This has been going on since our history began. And there's no easy solution to this. You can try to take away all the guns, and you'll never get rid of all the guns, because every time there's a gun violence, people run down to the gun store and buy all the guns and ammo that they, even though they did that the last time there was a gun violence. So they do it like once a week with their whole paycheck. And I don't know how many guns you really need. I mean, I suppose if you're schizophrenic and you have multiple personalities and you're paranoid and you have anxiety, you might think you have lots and lots and lots of enemies from all your different personalities, and you might need a big arsenal. Other than that, I cannot see why somebody would need such a huge arsenal of weapons, particularly assault weapons. I've been out target shooting. I've been out shooting for live game. I've never once used an assault rifle, or even a semi-automatic assault of any type. My grandfather never used one. My father never used one. My great-grandfather never used one. They managed to kill big game, bears and shit. And they didn't need all that. So, I don't know. There might be a justification for it, but I can't figure it out. In the meantime, how are you going to tell like mentally ill people like me that I can't go down to the airport with a shoulder-fired rocket, missile thing, air-to-ground missile, and go down and hunt airplanes? If people can go hunt people in movie theaters and in schools, why can't mentally ill people go down with rocket-fired missiles and shoulder-fired missiles and hunt down jumbo jets? I mean, seriously. Why not? We've seen it on TV. They've done it in Iran. Remember when they shot that cargo A300 through the wing? The rocket-fired missile? People do that. Do you think they were mentally ill? I don't think so. I think they were pissed. A bunch of Iraqis that were pissed at people that were invading their country. So they went and shot down a big airplane. Luckily, it landed safely. But it's not unprecedented. And there's nowhere in our Constitution that prevents us from doing that. I know it sounds crazy, but take it all the way to the end of this NRA argument of we should all be armed. And there's the good guys and the bad guys. Tell me who's the good guy and the bad guy. And tell me, can a good guy become a bad guy? Or vice versa? And if there's multiple people shooting in a mall, can you tell the good guys from the bad guys? Think about it. Has anybody ever dressed up like a policeman and gone on a shooting rampage in this country or any other, pretending to look like a good guy? Anybody? Like I said, it's an incredible argument we're listening to, and there's no sense to it at all. None. It makes no logical sense. It is just mental masturbation and a lot of talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. Until we change our values in this country, until we change our outlook in this country, it's going to continue. Because to get all the guns off the streets that are already on the streets would be an impossible task. Therefore, it's impossible. And people say, well, we have a great penal system. In other words, our judicial system is wonderful. Look at all the people we put in jail. How's that working out? Really? You know that we put people in jail for smoking marijuana for years and years and years and years and years and years and years if they do it more than once. Or sniffing some cocaine recreationally. We'll put them in jail 15, 20, 30 years because they're repeat offenders. You know how expensive that is? We spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year incarcerating millions of people in our jails. And they get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They get recreation. They get 24-hour security. They get food, shelter, and medical care, all for free. All for free. It's a great gig if you can get it. Think about it. In these economic times, at least there's something to do. And if you get a job in prison, you get a little cash too. Fabulous. Seriously. Unbelievable. The system doesn't work, kids. Hasn't worked, been broken for a long time. So to sit around pointing fingers is useless. Mental masturbation. It's time to look at the serious issue of the day and stop trying to parse it out or make it worse or try to discriminate against certain individuals because you think that's going to help solve the problem. That's not going to solve the problem. The problem has been building since we founded this nation, with psychos with guns. And we've been a nation of psychos, religious zealots and psychos with guns since the founding days of this nation. And until we decide we're going to stop doing that, we're going to continue to have this. That's the truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. Now, enjoy your day, enjoy your guns, and enjoy your killings on TV every day, and in the newspapers and on the internet. Because frankly, I've been living for over 40 years, and I don't think there's a day gone by where I haven't seen at least one murder, if not dozens. And what's the difference between a big plane crash and a school massacre? It's just a lot of dead bodies. There's no difference. It's just a lot of dead people all at once. And we somehow think that's more traumatizing than killing them off one at a time. I don't know why. It's not any more traumatizing for the one person to die than it is for 100 people to die. Except in your own mind. So who's crazy there? Last point about crazy and guns. I was once held up by gunpoint. And this person wanted to rob me. And I've had a death wish since I was 25. I wanted to die since I was 25. I'm now 46. So I've been sitting there waiting with my toothbrush for 21 years, patiently at the bus stop of death, waiting for it to come by. Now, this happened in my 30s. And this guy in a foreign country came up and stuck a gun in my side and wanted to pull me off into a alleyway to rob me, maybe kill me, I don't know. But I didn't want to go in the alleyway. I wanted it done right there on the street, right in the middle of a bustling street, in the capital city of this foreign country. And I turned to him, and I was bigger than he was physically. And I said, if you want to rob me, fine. If you want to kill me, even better. I said, but make sure you get me one bullet. Kill me in one bullet, and kill me now. And you can take everything I have, because I want to die. I look forward to it. And the first person I'm going to haunt for the rest of existence is you. I'm not afraid of dying. And I know what I can do when I die. And I know that you'll never rest, not even in hell. And we looked eye to eye to each other, and he realized I wasn't kidding. And I grabbed the gun, and I stuck it in my throat. And I said, shoot! And he got so scared, he ran away. So, was he really the mentally ill one, or was it me? Who was holding the gun? Was it him, or was it me? That's my point. When you try to generalize, you're not doing any good. You're just more mental masturbation. It doesn't get anything fixed. Have a nice day.